In this tumultuous rebirth, Elias Calder was a quiet man, one whose unassuming demeanor concealed the stores of his inner strength. Regular in the presence of the survivors, he walked through crowded makeshift shelters and destroyed streets with soft footsteps, his soft-spoken words and soft hands offering solace amidst desolation. While assisting a trembling elder here and exchanging a knowing glance with a sobbing child there, his silence spoke volumes. It was a silence seasoned by decades of unobtrusive labor and uncomplaining resolve, a silence that rendered him more than a passive observer. Elias was no conqueror, no demigod, but a living testament to an ancient truth lost to memory, that the human spirit, raw, flawed, and ferocious, is the very fabric of hope and the instrument of change. Born in an era of creeping injustice and relentless suffering, Elias had never known anything other than the struggle to survive. As a child, the world had already begun to crack under the strain of war and unyielding oppression. His formative years were spent in a small, abandoned village where nature and human compassion merged together. Even then, the quiet determination of his spirit set him apart. His simple craftsman of a father and compassionate nurse of a mother instilled in him lessons on resilience and compassion. These lessons, though whispered, would be reinforced later by the rumble of an awakened nation. They taught him that every test was an opportunity to spark hope, a lesson that would be the signature of his destiny. When the alien conquerors arrived, covering the skies with their black ships and quelling human resistance with brutal efficiency, the world was plunged into an age of submissiveness. The conquerors, armed with their advanced technologies and their brutal tactics, set out to extinguish the spark of humanity and reduce its inhabitants to silhouettes of their former lives. But even in that darkest moment, Elias Calder's humble resolve glowed like a hidden fire waiting for the touch of courage. Down in the underground arena, an otherworldly coliseum hewn out under the scraps of an old great city, Elias was with the vanquished and the mutinous. The arena, a crucible of pain and shame, was meant to break the spirit of those who would defy. But it came, instead, to be the backdrop where hope was revived. It was on this evening that the arena echoed with the beat of broken hopes and the sigh of resignation. In harsh artificial lighting, which barely penetrated the gloom, prisoners were forced to see choreographed battles designed to remind them of their powerlessness. But as the oppressive leaders watched, Elias stood among the survivors, not with the bellow of rebellion, but with the silence of one who understood that true power wasn't found in power, but in the unbreakable human spirit. His eyes, a blend of sorrow and fierce resolve, scanned the room. He saw the grooves that had been carved into the faces of those who had suffered. He saw the hidden strength in eyes that had grown accustomed to despair. Steeling himself, taking a careful, slow breath, Elias began to speak. "We are not slaves," he said with a voice that rode the charged silence with consummate ease. "We are not beasts to be caged and toyed with. We are human beings, bound together by a common history of hope and resilience. As long as we do not forget who we are, as long as we stand together, no power, no matter how advanced or sadistic, can ever really crush our spirit." Simple as they were profound, his words circulated through the crowd like a soft vibration that slowly swelled into a passionate tide. At this moment, the suffocating walls of despondency began to crumble. A wave, tentative at first, rippled through the arena, a faint whisper of revolt that would rise to a deafening chant. The air itself appeared to vibrate with the echo of Elias's faith. The conquerors, taken aback by this unexpected display of unity, attempted to silence him. But in their attempt, they fanned flames of resistance even higher. The seeds of rebellion, having been planted in the minds of the oppressed, began sprouting in the face of repression. The conflict that followed was neither sudden nor easy. The revolution that had been ignited by Elias's speeches unfolded as a slow, painstaking process, a fight characterized by sacrifices, unheralded victories, and the indomitable will of thousands who refused to surrender. In ravaged cities and shattered lands, hidden islands of defiance erupted. In these hope havens, Elias's words were endlessly repeated, not merely as a figure of speech, but as a living testament to the power of concord and the excellence of resilience. When wars raged and the conquerors retaliated in increasing ferocity, the memory of that evening was a beacon of hope. In secret gatherings, in hushed tones near the light of candles, and in parents' hushed prayers, the words of Elias Calder were passed from heart to heart. Despite lost friends and troubles multiplied, the people clung to the truth that with every tear shed, every sacrifice, humanity was one step closer to reclaiming its future. It was a torturous, painful reconquest, a slow reawakening of the spirit that had long been suppressed. Following the war, as at last the alien conquerors were routed back into the eternal blackness of space, the wounds of war began to heal into memory. The earth, once seared with ruin and devastation, began to bloom anew. In towns and cities, the residents built monuments, not of unyielding steel or unshakable stone, but of living murals and living gardens that were the personification of hope and resilience. In every carefully tended flower bed and every splattered painting, the memory of that fateful night was sanctified. Schools and community centers were refuges for the living witnesses of courage and solidarity. Wide-eyed little ones brimming with hope were not just being instructed in history, but inculcated in values which had sustained their race. They learned that a true indicator of a country's strength lay not in how many guns it held, or the design it chose to wage its battles, but how it was capable of loving, persevering, and clamorously striving for justice. Elias Calder's story was no longer just a tale of the past, it had become a living, pulsating blueprint for the future, a testament that even amidst the bleakest of circumstances, hope could be rekindled. Among those who continued retelling the tale was an old man who used to be a quiet observer in the underground arena. In the warm twilight of his years, he would sit on weathered stone steps in small village squares, with curious children listening around him. His worn smooth voice from years of use would recount the tale of that night, a night when one man's courage ignited a revolution. "Where I remember the sting of fear in my heart," he would say, "and then I hear Elias' words, and it was as if darkness receded, if only for a moment." His were not just words of battle cry, but words of remembering the glory of our shared humanity. They were supplemented by personal witness from many who had witnessed the transformation come into being. There was the story of a young woman, who was not yet of age when the war broke out, recalling when she first understood that hope was not an exquisite flower, but a breathing, living being in every human's heart. And then there was the testimony of an aged soldier, his face scored by the wrinkles of 1,000 campaigns, who spoke of how Elias's words had confirmed him in his faith in the decency of the human heart. Theirs was a heritage, passed down the centuries, a fabric of resilience, a fabric that each thread had been sewn into with bravery, sacrifice, and the unconquerable desire for freedom. The years and the decades coalesced into a single one as the country altered. Free from the cruelty of its past, it moved into an era of reconstruction and regeneration. In vibrant city squares and serene countryside villages alike, Elias Calder's spirit permeated every aspect of life. Local governments, fueled by the values of harmony and understanding, crafted policies aimed at healing, learning, and citizen empowerment. Public spaces were transformed into nature and art sanctuaries, and festivals were held to celebrate not only survival but the splendor of life itself. At one such festival, held annually on the anniversary of that fateful night, people gathered beneath a huge oak tree in a sunlit plaza. Lanterns, the beacon of hope that had burned brightly in the underground arena, were released into the air, each lantern carrying a wish for a better tomorrow. Musicians played soft, mournful melodies, their music floating through the air like the threads of an old lullaby. Poets spoke words that encapsulated the spirit of Elias Calder, reminding everyone that the power to change was always at one's fingertips. The celebration became a living remembrance, a dynamic interplay of hope and memory, where every song, every smile, every exchanged look was a testament to the abiding nature of hope. Yet the legacy of Elias Calder was not limited to public rituals or monuments in public parks. It infused the very fabric of everyday life. At peaceful moments of contemplation, a whispering wind or the soft burble of a brook would wake his words from memory. On busy bazaars and quiet libraries, people would pause to listen to the profound insight which washes back over the centuries, that any small gesture of kindness, no matter how soft the whisper of camaraderie, might transform a whole society rent asunder by despair. It was a lesson learned in valuing their common humanness, of finding beauty within each struggle, and strength in every tear. Elias himself would even walk through some of these transformed lands at times. Although long since out of the public light, his spirit remained in the gentle ripple of human touch. In one poor village, he was said to have visited a simple schoolhouse where children learned not from the ancient books but from living models of courage. There, one young educator with eyes dancing both with amazement and determination retold the story of Elias Calder as she pointed toward a mural of the secret arena in the soft hues of hope and revolution. "He showed us," she whispered to her enthralled pupils, "that greatness lies not in the strength of our fists, but in the inner strength of our hearts." As twilight descended on renewed planet Earth, the sky itself was painted with the colors of memory for that night of destiny. It was in the evenings, chill with the quiet of the darkness, when day's dying embers yielded to night's caressing grasp, that family gatherings would congregate on their front porches or in gardens communally owned. There, to the night song, elder ones would tell the story of Elias Calder with somber reverence. The tale was not told as a grand epic of triumphs and failures, but as a gentle reminder that hope and unity are the true constructors of a brighter tomorrow. A grandmother once spoke to her child one such night about how, when the world seemed shrouded in shadows, a gentle voice of a man had sparked a flame even in the most repressed of hearts. "Listen closely," she taught, her voice gentle but unyielding, "for in every sigh of the wind and each rustle of leaves, you will hear the echo of that night, a night we chose to believe in the power of our spirit." The child's eyes glowed with wonder in that moment, with an unspoken promise that the spirit of bravery would continue to be nurtured. The actual genius of Elias Calder's speech was not eloquence, but simplicity. It was a call to the best of human nature, a reminder that despite the overwhelming despair, every heart has the potential to heal again. His words became a mosaic, constructed over the years from an infinite number of voices and experiences. In quiet homes and raucous town squares, the repetition of "We are not slaves" was a chant, a breathing, living mantra that expressed the irrepressible strength of hope. For still others, the speech was balm to wounded pasts, a soothing ointment that bound up the rawest wounds cut by oppression. To others, it was a clarion cry, a soft prod to step forth and repossess a desperation-worn world. With each soft murmur of those phrases, the earthlings rediscovered a truism long hidden under wraps of tyranny, that even the brightest spark of illumination can slice through the darkness if we have merely the fortitude to nourish it. Years went by, and the country grew stronger and more united, and the values expressed in Elias Calder's words influenced all aspects of society. Historians made every effort to record the events of that night of revolution, ensuring that every detail of the struggle and every sacrifice for the freedom cause was not lost. Artists captured the mood of the day on canvas, sculptors shaped ephemeral hope into tangible buildings, and singers wrote ballads that reverberated with the sound of a broken world reassembled anew by harmony. It's not a straightforward process. There were moments of leftovers of sorrow, times when memories of devastation appeared to cast its shadow upon the beauty of having survived. But through every darkening evening, the legacy of Elias Calder was a certain beacon. In community centers where debates raged over the direction to take, leaders would remind one another collectively that the real test of a society was in its capacity to love, to forgive, and to rebuild. This shared understanding was created by the awareness that the path ahead was crowded with the modest deeds of small human beings. Even decades after that historic night, when the children who once sat in awe were now the parents and the guides to another generation of children, the legend of Elias Calder continued to inspire. In quiet classrooms and active community centers, the story was retold in new words and vivid pictures. A mural on the wall of a rundown building, a reminder of bygone days, captured his message. It depicted one lone person standing alone in a crowd of faces, his eyes burning with determination, each one a living testament to the enduring strength of unity. In the center of that mural, the image of Elias Calder was depicted not as mythic hero, but as a man whose quiet resolve altered the course of history. His eyes, though soft, were charged with an unspoken vow that hope would forever be the guiding light of an unbowed people. This artwork, like so many of the memorials, lingered in the back of one's mind as a reminder that the struggle for freedom was something not to be finished, but an ongoing journey, a journey requiring both the courage of the few and the tenacity of the many. With the tale filtering through all of the nooks and crannies of this new society, every person became their own storyteller. There were also festivals to commemorate not only the triumph over oppression but the continuing process of healing. In the soft glow of lantern-lit evenings, the people gathered to share individual stories, small stories of kindness, acts of bravery, and memories of a day when one man's voice had set off a revolution. It was a living tapestry of collective memory, each strand, each common recollection, and each shared smile contributing to the constantly evolving heritage of Elias Calder. Thus, in every corner of the world, be it cities, rural towns, or isolated hamlets, the hope-sustaining words remained alive. They were chanted on the wind, written on walls, and passed down from generation to generation. The speech, with its gentle but strong call to unity and strength, was more than a record of the past, it was a pulse, a heartbeat that reminded the world of their common destiny. It discovered that greatness is not measured by the power of one's arms or the brilliance of one's design, but by the capacity to love, to endure, and to rise again after every fall. With the break of dawn, when the first light crept over a refreshed and optimistic planet Earth, the effect of Elias Calder's words extended across all the horizons. Every morning, when the sun kissed the earth in soft gold, every smile exchanged between strangers, and every act of kindness, however small, served as a gentle reminder of that evening. It was as though the world itself had taken a deep breath in and, in that moment of renewal, had decided to have faith once more in the power of hope. And thus the legacy remains, a legacy that goes beyond the confines of the pages of textbooks but etched strongly into the pounding hearts of those who are brave enough to dream. It is a heritage that bears witness to a truth as old as time, that in the tapestry of life, the strongest threads are stitched not by the strength of tyranny, but by the unbreakable bond of common humanity. Elias Calder's gentle voice, once restrained and contained, now resonated across the centuries, a proof that even in darkest darkness, the human heart is capable of igniting a fire strong enough to drive the shadows of tyranny from the land. Through every silent corner of this newly birthed world, from the crowded, noisy market squares to the quiet, reflective alleyways of age-old libraries, his words echoed. They whisper among themselves of a time when courage was not tempered in the clash of armies, but tempered in the silence of one individual, a man who believed that even the smallest candle could illuminate the vastness of darkness. And as long as hearts remain willing to consider the possibility of transformation, that spark will never die. Thus, Elias Calder's life is not a mere chronicle of one individual's bravery but a living, expanding him to the unbreakable force of hope, a song composed by every soul who has ever found the strength to challenge despair and welcome the future with love, courage, and unbreakable unity. His legacy, intertwined with the stories of so many others, is a testament to the truth that the power to remake the world lies within every single one of us. And so, while listening to the comforting beat of this tale, let you sense the stirring of hope, the whispered call to empathy, and the boundless reminder that for every instant of darkness, there awaits the dawn. For in the end, it is our common man that spins the strongest strands that, spun into rope, can recast our destiny and illuminate a future where tyranny is thwarted by the indomitable, unbreakable fabric of hope.